and welcome to the... there was a rock there. Welcome to the Sunset Safari. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie, and I have Tebbs on camera with me this afternoon, working with me for the first time. Very excited. Jeandre will be something of a tonsorial disaster, and if you're not quite sure what that means, I'm sure you can find out. Some ill along with a slip of the wrist might have led slightly, but he's on his way. He is out and about as well and heading across to Arathusa. If you're joining us for the first time, this is a live safari, so everything that you're seeing is happening right here on Jeandre and Arathusa game reserves in the Sabi Sands, Africa. Dodge the air. Not only are we live, we're out on a beautiful summer's afternoon. That cold.
Right, we're live again. I think we came live briefly for about 3 seconds, and we're back with you now. Welcome to WildEarth TV. I'm assuming you haven't had your introduction yet, so I'm going to stop here, unfluster myself, take a deep bush breath, and say hello to you properly with the decorum befitting an audience of our, shall we say, eminent nature. Now, my name is Jeandre, and you are with WildEarth TV. This is Safari Live, and you are on a very live, as you can see from the crash cut, very live afternoon game drive. There are technical issues. We're broadcasting to you from the 8 million acre wilderness wonderland that is the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. So the odd technical glitch is to be expected. It's live, so we'd love to hear from you. Hashtag Safari Live if you're tweeting away like a rattling testicular, or questions at wildearth.tv if you're on the email. Like I say, my name is James. On camera we have Jeandre. Hello, Jeandre.
Hello, James.
He of the enormous calves. In the final control we have Jerry and Tara. And on the other vehicle, well, you probably got a very brief glimpse of the slightly red locks of Jamie Patterson, and she is being filmed by the diminutive but very recently acquired Tebbs. We have come to Arathusa. There are apparently some elephants at the Arathusa Dam. It's not too warm, so I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of activity at the waterholes. Probably about 26 degrees, very pleasant, which is about 80 degrees in Fahrenheit. So that's the plan. I feel much more relaxed now. So please do talk to us. Any comments and questions you have. We had a very quiet animal morning this morning, but some wonderfully stimulating conversation with all of you. So thank you for that. And please keep the questions and comments coming. Here we go. Jeandre, are you ready? Do you feel sufficiently relaxed now, do you?
Fine.
Okay. All right. Now, on Saturday, the 7th of November, and thus the 7th of November is a very important day because it is my brother's birthday, we will be starting drive at 5 o'clock. In the morning. Now what that means is that we'll be slipping half an hour earlier than we would normally, and that's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States. It is 3 a.m. If you are living at Greenwich Mean Time, and 5 o'clock Central African Time. So it's half an hour earlier, and that's to help us to take advantage of the early morning light. It's by now you will have noticed when we're starting at 5:30 in the morning, it is pretty much, well, it's bright, the sun's come up. So it's the best time to go out, is just as it's starting to get light. So that's what we'll be doing come Saturday, the 7th of November, my brother's birthday. Speaking of birthdays, of course, it is Scott Dyson's 30th birthday today. He is now old like me. Sorry for him. And he will not be driving this afternoon. He will be taking the afternoon off probably going tracking, because he loves to do that. And I'm sure you will join me in wishing him a very happy birthday. Thank you, Miss Jeandre in Texas. That's very kind of you. You say that I'm looking good. I have shaved and had a haircut. What little there is left, I have in fact shaved. I must tell you though that it wasn't a shaving without incident. When I do it myself normally, and when I got onto the car, the camera faced the back of my head, and the final control said, have you been savaged by a leopard on the back of your head? To which I replied, no, I've had a haircut. They said, get out and go and sort out that mess, which I then had to go and do. Well, thank you, Miss Jeandre. Thank you to Steph as well, who managed to sort out the amazing sort of patchwork of hair that I managed to create on the back of my head. If you look closely, which you're not going to, of course, you will notice a couple of gaps where there shouldn't be any. Thank you, Miss Jeandre. Jeandre, I will punch you. Now, we've come to Arathusa with the hopes that we might be able to see something in the way of some lions, maybe. There weren't any lions seen here this morning, as far as I know. We are looking around. I'm trying to get some updates on the radio. And John, Donna, Vanessa, and Chris, you want to know about the Solana Pride and what the update is? I don't know. That's why we've come across here. In case you didn't notice, we didn't find any lions this morning. And what's happened is that, in case you haven't followed the story, and this is the reason I think for the concern, the Birmingham boys had an altercation with the Salalas. They bit one of the males on the back and injured him quite badly, and one of the other males, young males, 2.5 years old plus minus, is gone, missing. We don't know if he's dead or what's happened to him. So, yeah, we don't know what's going on with the Solana Pride at the moment. But we'll try and find out during the course of the afternoon, and I will keep you posted. They were last seen on Arathusa. I suspect that they probably headed south down back towards Londolozi, where they came from. And the Birminghams were shouting the odds last night, but we don't know from where. Anyway, I'm sure we'll discover one or two interesting things. What is going on there? Oh, I'll explain what's going on there now. So over here, there will probably be what is known as a bush dinner this evening. That means that the guests staying at Arathusa will come and have their supper over here, which will be a marvellous experience for them. It really is a lovely thing to do, to come and sit and eat your dinner in the bush al fresco under the stars. See if there's anything worth stealing. No. No food or drink just yet. Now, there were reports of elephants at Arathusa Dam, so we'll head off that way and see if we can't pick up on the herd. And I'm hoping as we get a bit closer there, I'll be able to contact some of the Arathusa guys and they'll be able to tell me if there's been anything or any news from the Salalas. Which is a very marvellous afternoon to have temperature like this kind of perfect temperature at this time of the year is not common. Apparently Jamie is on some wild dog tracks, but she has no signal where she is. But that's quite exciting news. I'm just going to find out if the final control can tell me where those wild dog tracks are, because it might be worth going to help her out if there's not much going on at Arathusa. Obviously those wild dogs move an enormous distance, and they're in the middle of Jeandre property, so let's see where they go. If they look like they're going to be close to the centre of the town, centre of the reserve, we'll high over there at great speed. Just listening to the game drive radio now, seeing if there are any updates. One does have a lot of voices in one's head when one is driving around here. There are no updates on the lions, so I think they've probably gone south. The radios that we're in touch with over here are from that gentle whistling noise you heard there was Jeandre telling me that I drove past a 6.5-ton elephant without noticing it. Just over there. Marvellous. Let's have a look here. There are a whole lot of them. I'll find out where I am. There's a whole herd just in here. We're going to try and be as gentle as possible. Don't make too much noise. Just going to wait here. They are moving now. I think possibly because we've made a bit of noise, so we'll just let them get used to us quickly. So we'll sit here for a little while with these elephants, and then I think we probably will head towards where Jamie is, just to give her a hand with those dog tracks. What I just want to make sure before we do that, though, is that they haven't leapt out of Jeandre and into Buffelshoek, in which case it shall be what is known as a fool's errand. A little bit further through here. They are watching us quite carefully. They're heading in the direction of the Arathusa waterhole. They're not the ones that were drinking there. I think they're probably going to try and go down there now. And the reason this driving is presenting a bit of a problem is that there's a nasty stump there. Jeandre, are we all right on that stump? We're good. There we go. You see the trials I have to cope with everybody. It's not easy sneaking in a Land Rover. There we go. I'm just going to pull in here like that. Is that all right for you? Or hopeless, Jeandre?
Hopeless.
Hopeless, okay. I'm just going to wait here for a second before I move again. It's so interesting to watch, and I've just started noticing it. It's probably quite obvious to many of you, but perhaps to the less observant of us, not so much. The adults, as soon as the vehicles come, they move around to the outside of the herd, and I'm sure they're communicating with the youngsters and telling them to get in the middle so that there isn't a case of them being exposed to what is a potential threat in us. They definitely see us as a potential threat. All right, John, I'm going to ease through here. Just watch your head, especially in light of what you said about Carla, you have made a point that I continually am amazed by as well. You say you're astonished that these elephants are able to fit into the environment and disappear and melt away almost at will, yet they are so huge. And Carla, I agree totally. I am constantly astounded by that. No matter how often I see them just disappear off into the bush, it really does amaze me. Slightly better view for you. And of course these views off-road are going to be more and more difficult as the summer progresses, because the bush will get thicker and thicker. And what that means is that obviously we're going to have to drive, well, you make more and more noise, and in order to get a decent view you've got to kind of maneuver a bit more carefully. A little herd, and you'll find now that as the food and water become slightly more plentiful, well, especially if we have a bit more rain, that these herds will disperse slightly. So this is a small family group, and it could easily join with another family group to make a larger herd, but this little group is probably on its own like this because there's so much to eat at the moment. That situation could change if we don't get rain fairly soon. A dry year is certainly predicted, but I don't hold an enormous amount of credence to long-term meteorological predictions. They often tend to be utter nonsense. You can probably just hear them grazing gently through the woodland, browsing gently through the woodland, and a ring-necked dove off to the right-hand side. Well, we'll try and move a little bit closer around. Not so much closer as into a position where you can see what's going on. Driving along here, quite nice and close to these elephants. We've approached them very slowly, and so they are sort of prepared to tolerate us for now, but they are watching us carefully. Wonderful to hear from Louise in Mrs. Puttoff's class, aged between 9 and 10 in Missouri. You're studying Africa this week, kids, and that's great. And Louise, you want to know how hot and cold does it get here in South Africa? Well, Louise, in the hottest part of South Africa, which would be probably up in the Kalahari in the Northern Cape, around Uppington, it'll probably get to maybe 44 degrees on a really hot day, and that's in your terms about 120 Fahrenheit. And then the coldest place in South Africa, I think, and Jeandre can correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably a place called Sutherland in the Karoo. And Jeandre is nodding his head, and I think the coldest temperature it gets there is what, probably about a minus 10? Minus 10 degrees, but that will be for very few days, and I don't know what minus 10 is in Fahrenheit. I'm going to have to get somebody to convert that for me. Oh, and some sad news at Karula. Well, not that sad, don't panic everyone. Karula is crossing over our boundary. Somebody's just watched her cross over our boundary into Simbambili, so unfortunately we won't be able to see her, but I wonder why she's going that far east again, far west. I think that's quite interesting. Anyway, so Louise, there we go, minus 10 degrees in Sutherland, up to about 44 degrees in Uppington, and out here it goes down to about 4 degrees Celsius, and that's probably about 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and up to also it'll get to 44 degrees here sometimes, 120 degrees a few times in the year. So we don't get nearly as cold as you are there in Missouri. Beautiful elephants. So peaceful now. We've taken our time to get in here. We've moved in slowly. And at the moment, they're very relaxed. That one particularly is about 50 meters in front of us. And that one that you were looking at just behind the tree is probably about 5 or 6 meters away. Here come some little ones in front of us. And there's a big matriarch. I'm just going to encourage you to watch that big cow. She's watching us very carefully. She's been quite defensive, so I'm going to be very, very quiet. She's watching us. You see how she's lifted her head? She's smelling us, and the baby is on the left-hand side of her, away from us, sorry. She's decided we're okay, and now she's going to move on. But she'll keep watching us. I suspect she's the matriarch of this little herd. Here's another little thing. Yes, I suspect she's the matriarch of this little herd. Here's another little thing. A tiny little elephant coming to say hello to us, holding his little stick. Isn't that sweet? Now, a question from Sean about their lungs. Oh, sorry, Sean, I will get back to your question. There's been some communication here that we are unable to hear. They've stopped, and then suddenly the matriarch obviously said something to them. I don't know what it was, and they all started moving off in one movement. Very quietly, off they go. So, Sean, you say that you've heard that elephants can only breathe through their trunks, and that when they lie down, they can only use one lung. Sean, it's entirely possible. I think they can only breathe through their trunks, but in terms of lying down, what happens is elephants have to be very careful when they lie down, because their organs are so heavy that if they lie on the one side, their organs tend to crush on the organs on the other side. So it probably does mean that when they are lying down, only one of their lungs won't inflate properly, like when they're standing up. And that's why the big ones don't lie down a lot. They do sometimes lie down, but they don't lie down a lot. And I mean, I've certainly heard that even as a human being, it's healthier to sleep on your right-hand side than on your left-hand side, because if you sleep on your left, your heart does take a little bit more pressure than if you sleep on your right-hand side. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I've certainly heard that from some medical people. I'm just going to wait for this elephant to come out here. She's quite close by. Might be actually a young bull. There he comes. He's been eating very greedily on something called a green thorn or torchwood. There's a young cow. Now, we've been watching these elephants walking almost silently through the bush here, but they do make a bit of a noise, as you point out, Mary, in Michigan, and you say because they make such a noise, would they not be used to the sound of the cars moving through the bushes? Mary, I don't think it's so much the crushing noise that the cars make. I think herds especially, they don't want their babies threatened, and they're always nervous. So yeah, it's not so much the noise of the trees cracking, it's this big green thing coming in here going boom, boom, and then a cracking branch here and there. And so yeah, I think they do definitely feel threatened by it. When they want to, they can make a noise, but if they don't, a lot of elephants there. It is amazing. And Pamela almost 2 weeks ago, when we saw an almost newborn elephant. It was the most special thing on my birthday last 2 Fridays ago, and I haven't heard again about that elephant other than the fact that it was nearly eaten by hyenas that night, but the hyenas didn't get it in the end. There's a road up here. I don't think it's going to be necessary for us to crush through there. We might think about heading back to Jeandre to help Jamie with the wild dog tracks, but let's just maybe get an update from her before we do that as to where those tracks are progressing. Watch your head here, Jeandre. Watch your head, everybody. We're going to follow them through there. It's very, very thick. Anyway, we had a wonderful view of them. They were very confiding, and now they've decided to get elsewhere. Why shouldn't they? They are elephants after all. There's a road here, and I think it bends round there. I say I think because we are deep Arathusa now, I'm not that familiar with the road network. There we go. Marvellous, that's a good start for our sightings. I'm going to consult my map quickly in order to make sure I'm not completely lost. This road actually might intersect with them. We will take the next left down a road called Shortcut Matanduga. That's quite a nice name. I have no idea what it means. So Jamie is deep inside Jeandre, still trying to follow up on those tracks. She is an enormously long way away from us, so I'm going to leave her at it for a little while, and we'll make our way slowly around there at some stage. But she's a good sort of 25 minutes drive away. we will wish her the best of luck. Really? Jeandre has spotted this large reptile. Spotted, it's gone. Oh, genius, well done. You got him, is that fine? Back a bit. Got him. It's called a tree or rock monitor, everybody. Look at that. Oh, he's wonderful. Look at his tongue. He thinks we can't see him. His nose, his eyes in the same plane. Amazing. Now that, when he blinks, it's not actually his eyelids that are closing. It's called a nictitating membrane. You see that? That's really cool. Crocodiles also got one. They specialize in eating those fellows. And they're not easy to catch. Apparently, if you're a human being, you try and catch one of those, they have an incredibly whippy tail action, and they also bite. That's a tree or rock monitor. You look at his tail there. That's magnificent. Well done, Jeandre. Not just a big carved fellow. Let's see if he'll climb a tree for us, because that's of course what he's supposed to do. The elephants, I can hear the elephants coming straight from over the top of that monitor lizard's head. We'll wait for them. Isn't that amazing? We so seldom get time to see these things. Because I think if I was going to get, we're going to have to tolerate this picture for a little while. I think he will move though. Now this of course is a great day for reptiles because it's pretty warm but it's not too hot. And reptiles are, just in case you've forgotten your 4th grade biology, or perhaps you're in the 4th grade, in which case this will reaffirm your lessons. A reptile is exothermic, and that means it's cold-blooded basically. So it does not generate its own heat. It doesn't maintain a body temperature of its own. There are the elephants there. Elephants are warm. I can't really see them. I can just see them. And will really enjoy a day like today. They'll go and lie in the sun for a while, get warm, and then it can move around. Now it helps an animal to be exothermic or cold-blooded in a way that a warm-blooded animal doesn't have, because it saves energy. So a cold-blooded animal will use far less energy than a hot-blooded one, but it does mean that it's completely dependent. He can't move. That is wonderful. That really is wonderful. Now that means that the temperature balance has to be quite careful. So even on a day like today, the ambient temperature is about 26 degrees Celsius. This is incredible. Coming straight towards us. So the temperature is perfect for him. He doesn't need to be in the sun. On a cooler day, he will spend quite a lot more time in the sun, warming up. But even on a day like today, you'll find him coming into the sun and then out of the sun, balancing the temperature. best rock monitor sighting I've ever had. Now, David, in the UK, you've asked a question that's made me start to doubt myself, but I don't think I'm wrong. You want to know the difference between a water and a rock monitor, and the main difference is size, coloration also, and the snout. Now, the snout on a water monitor is very sharp, whereas the snout of a rock monitor, this one, is a bit blunter. This is not a particularly big one, and the water monitor tends to be flatter and blotched black and yellow, as opposed to kind of mottled tan and black, which I think this is. It really is spectacular. This is an amazing, amazing sighting. The other thing, David, the difference between the water monitor and the rock monitor is that the tail of a water monitor is longer than the body, and the tail of a rock monitor is about the same length as the body. This is just, I mean, astonishing. Look at how he moves. And you'll notice the difference between him and a crocodile is the crocodile's legs do not stick out the side like that lizards do. They come straight out of the bottom of the body. And that means that this chap can move a lot more easily. He can lift his feet up and around things much more carefully, and so he can move a lot faster on land than, say, a crocodile can. That's not to say a crocodile is always slow, though. Wow, what a sighting. Hey? Good job, Jeandre. Now these lizards, I'm afraid he's gone now. Don't follow a lizard off-road, you might squash him. Joe in the United Kingdom, in Wales, from the valleys. Joe, you want to know if they give birth to live young or if they lay eggs. Joe, they lay eggs. 20 to 40 eggs at a time. Here the elephants. I just want to see if they're not going to come across the road in front of us. Some of them have already crossed the road. Okay, let's go a little bit forward. What you don't want to do is kind of block their way. It's a bit insensitive, but at the same time you do want to see them, of course. This herd is not the most confiding I've ever been around. Now, why are we looking at these elephants which don't really want to look at us? And so I don't think I'm going to hang around with them too much. Ravi in New York, I think you might be confusing lizards here. You asked the question, is it true that the bacteria from the bite of a... Yeah, there comes another. There's one just the other side of us here, and I think I've slightly split the herd up. He's just looking a little bit uneasy. We'll wait here. Ravi, you say, is it true that the bite of a monitor lizard like that will be so full of nasty bacteria that it would eventually poison the bloodstream of an impala and kill it so that the monitor could eat the impala. No, Ravi, that is true of the Komodo dragon of Indonesia. The Komodo dragon is in case you don't know, it looks like an enormous monitor lizard. It's not a fire-breathing reptile that flies, a la Game of Thrones. It is an enormous monitor lizard type thing, and it has the foulest saliva, filled with nasty bacteria, and they kill water buffalo. What they'll do is they'll walk up behind a water buffalo, which looks quite similar to our Cape buffalo. They'll walk up behind them, bite them, and then they'll just lie and wait. And over the course of I think it's sometimes up to 2 weeks, that buffalo will weaken slowly, getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and it'll die, and then the Komodo dragon will eat it. And that's not the same with these monitor lizards at all. They eat millipedes and insects. They'll eat the odd egg, and they'll probably take the odd lizard as well, other lizards. But no, they don't. I doubt they have the cleanest bite in the world, but certainly if you get bitten by one, I don't think it's nearly as bad as being bitten by a python, for example. Python doesn't poison you, but it is got pretty nasty bacteria in the teeth. So I think it'd be okay if you were bitten by one of those. Nice one, thank you, Ravi. Right, let's leave these elephants. Delightful question from another young viewer. Hello, Gracie, aged just 8 years old in Ohio. You want will the elephant step on that reptile and squash him into pieces? Gracie, first of all, that reptile actually looked quite slow, but he's not slow at all. He can run away very quickly. So if he felt like the elephants were coming close, he just run away very quickly. And secondly, if the elephants did stand on him, he wouldn't be squashed into pieces. He'd be squashed into kind of a pancake, a flat pancake lizard. And that wouldn't be very nice for him at all. But the elephants definitely wouldn't try to stand on him. If they came past there and he was in the way, he would just move out of the way very quickly. They're much faster than we are, for example, so they can easily get away from us. Thank you, Gracie. Now, I've never actually picked one of them up, and I've never actually touched one. But Donna in Canada, you want to know, is the texture like that of a snake on the skin? Donna, I think it's probably a lot rougher, actually. The texture of a snake skin is very smooth, and that's probably got a lot to do with the fact that they have to move so smoothly. It's smooth, but not. It's very dry. They've both got very dry skin, but absolutely the texture will be different. That you can see that looks like rough, kind of sandpapery type skin. And texture on all snakes that I've ever felt has been very, very smooth. So I think quite different. Sorry, I'm staring blankly down there because I've seen some form of infrastructure that I don't recognize. We could be trespassing. We might be on elephant plains. I'm not sure. I don't think we are. I think we're okay. We've still got you though, so it doesn't really matter. Janet, do you want to know how big a rock monitor can get? The biggest rock monitor I've ever seen is probably about from there to the end of the dashboard. So let's say about 3'3", about a meter. Get pretty big. That was quite a little one. It wasn't a huge one. I think that's Arathusa camp down there, Jeandre. We should be okay. If we are arrested while we're live, everybody, you'll know why. interestingly, David in New Jersey on the discussion subject of the Komodo dragon. David, you say that the Komodo dragon has actually been found to have proper venom in its bite. So that wouldn't surprise me. I certainly didn't know that. So thank you very much, David. And that would explain the death that it does cause in animals, but it's a slow, nasty death. You wouldn't want to be bitten by a Komodo dragon and then left to die like some of those buffalo. It really is a nasty way to go, I think. Testing the edges of my knowledge here. Pamela, you say that they're also found in Portugal, I think, monitor lizards. It wouldn't surprise me. I doubt they're the same species, but I don't. I am sorry, Puerto Rico, not Portugal. That's an entirely different side of the Atlantic. And I think you'll find that lots of the reptiles have very similar kind of cousins around various in the old world and the new world, because they are very ancient animals, or the reptiles, stretching back, of course, the dinosaurs, which roamed the earth, if I'm not mistaken, for about 120 million years. That is an enormous amount of time. We, as human beings, have only been anatomically what we are now for the last 150,000 years. I don't know where else you get monitor lizards, I'm afraid, but I'm assuming that you probably get a version of a monitor lizard just about everywhere in the world. I think you find them on the Galapagos as well. Don't they have those swimming monitor lizards in the Galapagos? I think they have those. Iguana. I think, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, an iguana is a similar kind of, similar thing to a monitor lizard. All right, we're coming upon Arathusa Dam now. There is nothing, well, nothing obvious just yet. No, indeed, there is nothing. You see anything, Jeandre? This water is also getting very low, but I do think they pump it, so I don't think it will ever drop completely to zero. We'll do a loop around here, we'll go over the dam wall, and then we'll head back towards Juma and see if we can't help Jamie with those. What's that? With those wild dog tracks. There are some hippo here. We'll have a quick look at them, but they are hidden under the water lilies. In fact, I'm not going to. Well, no, we'll stop with you. Under there, that one there, right in front of the light, you can see the tiny baby, and I'm sure that's the one that we called Lily the other day in honor of Gracie's friend. That's probably the little one there. Let's have a look with the binoculars. Tiny little thing, born about a week ago. I'm talking absolute nonsense. That's just one animal, sorry. That's not Lily, Gracie. It's not a little one. I was fooled by the lilies. Hyacinths, sorry, it's not lilies, these are hyacinth plants. The little one will be in here somewhere. Alright, I think let's not tarry here for too long. I also saw two Indian miners, which I think I've mentioned before. Foul birds. They have invaded, and they're normally taken out with pellet guns fairly quickly, because they do tend to be very invasive and nasty to the local bird population. I shan't befoul the screen with their presence, though. Fresh buffalo dung. I'm sure there are many of you that like to pop that plastic popping paper. And we don't have a lot of popping paper out here, and this might be slightly strange. Jeandre will probably look at me very askance when I say this, but there's something about driving over a fresh buffalo patty that gives to me the same sense of pleasure as popping the bubbles on that plastic. It's wonderful. I'll show you next time I do it. You'll see. You'll know what I mean. So this is Arathusa Lodge, where, should you wish to come to Africa, this is certainly a good place to stay. We had some of our viewers staying here the other day. I saw them on Game Drive from Scotland. We had some more viewers, in fact, staying around Juma yesterday, which was marvellous to meet. Now gone through the back end of Arathusa. We'll head out back towards Juma. We'll wind our way slowly east towards Juma. Don't take the wrong turn here. No, I've taken the right one out. I've ended up in the car park there before, which is a little awkward. We're now out of Arathusa camp's environs. I think what I saw when I saw that odd infrastructure, I think it'll become apparent to you now. I'll show you what I meant. The bird there, Jeandre, I think it's an immature European bee-eater, if I'm not horribly mistaken. Yes, that's what it is. Look at them, aren't they beautiful? I can hear a whole lot of them above us going toot toot toot, toot toot toot, toot toot toot. Maybe not quite like that. And they'll be sitting there waiting to try and hawk some insects out of the sky. See, they'll pick them up. Sometimes they come back to their perches and sometimes they don't. Marvellous. Right, on we go. That is the European bee-eater. Some of the most... Oh, one of them's landed again. Well, some of the most colourful birds that we get here. Gold and blue. They've got the most golden colour I've ever seen. Yes, from that angle it's difficult not to notice the mess that I made at the back of my head. Anyway, I suppose we should just get over it and, you know, you'll notice this particularly fine gap here where I took the particularly sharp end of the razor and, yeah, well, the less said about that the better. I'll probably wear a beanie. That's probably better. That's better, Jeandre, don't you think? It's quite gangster. I'm quite a gangster kind of guy, really. Lots of birds flying around. It's a little bit windy, so their flying skills will be tested to the maximum. Otherwise, not a huge amount happening at Arathusa. I am listening to the radio all the time. Very little going on. And there is a Burchell starling. Don't fly, Burchell starling. I think this is its nest here. You see the hole in the tree there? There's a hole if you go, ooh, that's a beautiful shot. If you go just to the left of it, there's a hole there in the tree. And I think that's its nest. Didn't go into it, but I'm pretty sure that hole there is its nest. There are a few holes in the tree, but that one looks pretty freshly gouged. They're probably now flying away to draw us away from what could be this little family. Marvellous. Oh dear, I wondered why I wasn't hearing anything. I've been unplugged for some time. I've just replugged myself in. I thought Jerry was being very quiet, but I realised that I'm just in mute. I'm back plugged in. Gerald, speak at will. I think we want to go around the other side here. Right. We're going to go to Jamie. She's got the wild dogs. We're going to go and help now. This is awesome. Enjoy. I'll see you there.
Really, really exciting news for you all. So we've been doing a bit of chatting to James about getting him here to help us track the wild dogs. But I have great news because we have found them. And they are sitting just across from us, across Buffelshoek Dam. I'm a little bit nervous to move, but I am going to because they're up. Let me shift forward so we can show you where they are. Oh, it's so good to see wild dogs again. There, and we're going to see if we can change position. Oh, that is so exciting. There they are. They seem to be loving Buffelshoek Dam at the moment. I haven't seen wild dogs in ages. This is the pack with the puppies. Now, I'm not sure if this news has been passed on to you, actually, just while we're talking and before we get a little bit closer. But very sadly, one of the puppies has been killed sometime in the last few days. But the rest of them are still alive and well and busy playing with each other. Oh, this is wonderful news. Right at Buffelshoek Dam. Oh. I was in the process of saying good afternoon and hello to you all, which I never quite finished doing, but let's see if we can get a little bit closer. I'm just wary because of signal, but we're going to try. I'm going to have to go around, but they are playing. I'm going to have to go around the dam wall, which means that you might lose me for a brief moment. We can get a little bit closer to them. Oh, they're playing with each other. Right, let's get closer if we can. Go through this dip, but you should get me back very, very shortly. I just don't want to lose them, and they are moving. Alright, bit of a bumpy ride. Don't go, guys. Please don't go. Our stations are head through and down. Here they are, they're playing up ahead of us. Scoot along the edge of the dam here. Got to drive really carefully so that we don't drive over any nests, but they should be fine. I don't know where to look. There's dogs everywhere. Hello, puppy. I'm just going to duck my head quickly so you can have a look before I move again. Hello, puppy. Oh, big yawn. Oh, this is absolutely wonderful. Bear with me a moment. Oh, he's looking up at the storks flying above his head. So curious. Sorry guys, please give me one moment. I just need to go onto the Game Drive channel. Somebody is trying to call me. I'm gonna shift around. See if we can find a nice position without disturbing them in any way. Let's find our way in. There's one. It's quite thick in here. Sorry guys. Here we go. We've got, looks like 2 of the adults and maybe 1 pup here. All resting in the shade. Whilst we have a quick look at them, bear with me one moment. Yeah, stations, these Madash are Lalapanzi here to the northeast of the dam. Puppy? Oh, these incredible creatures. Yeah, that's affirmative. Now guys, I'm just letting the other vehicles know because they were on the lookout as well and they were going to come and help me track them. So it's only fair that we let them know we found them. Hello, little one. Look at those giant ears. They are such incredible animals. Back to sleep again. Oh my word, there's an entire group of pups behind us. They've all popped out. Oh, it's going to be very difficult for Tebbs to get them, so I'm going to reverse a little bit. There's some more coming behind me. It's the wonderful thing about wild dog sightings is that you just never know where to look, especially when we've got this many puppies wandering around us. Bear with me one moment. I'm going to reposition. And how lucky are we that we get to spend all this time with a creature that is so incredibly endangered. There we go. Sorry, I know that it's straight into the sun, but at least we get to have a view of the remaining pups. And Monique, you're watching all the way from London. Excuse me. And you were wondering what happened to the one pup that is very sadly probably being killed, or definitely being killed if it isn't with this group. Monique, we think, or the guides think, that it was a lion that killed them, and that's generally what happens. You've seen the way that these wild dogs move. They run constantly, helter-skelter, in every which direction through the block. And they just have to encounter one lion pride and not be fast enough, and unfortunately that is something that does just happen. The mortality rate is high, but this group has done phenomenally well to have protected this litter of pups as well as they have. Hello, are you curious? Aren't you beautiful with your spots on the leg? Look at those giant bat-like ears. And when they're puppies, it's even more pronounced. And of course, those work like giant radar dishes to help filter the sound. Hello. And And take lots and lots of screenshots for us, please, especially of their left side. As I said, they are critically endangered animals, and so they're very, very carefully monitored by quite a few organizations, but specifically the Endangered Wildlife Trust. And they keep a close eye on the comings and goings of the packs. Little one. One of the most unusual social system of any animals out here. To have essentially a hierarchy that's almost entirely based on being subservient rather than trying to be dominant, rather than trying to fight. Look at this little one sniffing away. And you can see when we look at them, especially these puppies teething on the log, where they get the name painted dog. Because they really do look like somebody's thrown splodges of paint onto a canvas. And that incredible, almost thin-looking shape of theirs, built for streamlining and speed. Now, Matty, who's watching all the way in the Netherlands, you wanted to know if this is the same pack that chased the Inyala into the dam about 2 weeks ago with James and Brent, and the answer is yes, it is indeed. It is exactly the same pack. Now, I happened to be watching that particular drive. I was on leave, but I was watching, and I know that many of us were, despite the fact that there are such endangered creatures, we were kind of rooting for that poor Inyala who was stuck, terrified in the middle of the dam. And from what I understand, he was very lucky to have escaped. Now, I've just called in Taxon, who's brought a vehicle full of our wonderful Juma junkies on board, I believe. It's good to see Terry, Liz, Carol and Tom again, sitting on the back enjoying the wildlife sighting with us as well. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, I've mentioned, or I might not have mentioned it. I've lost track already as to what I've said to Cameron, what I was chatting to Tebbs about. But these animals are incredibly difficult to track because of the way that they move and the way that they run. And they bolt from place to place, hunting. On the way, I did smell something interesting. I'm coming back to finish that thought in a moment. Look at them play. There's that greeting ceremony. Oh, somebody's got his ear. The little pup is actually quite clearly smaller than the rest, or from this angle anyway, and playing very subservient, that little giggling sound. Poor puppy being somewhat bullied there. Interesting behavior that. I don't quite know why that happened that way. I think just the fact that that pup went and joined the group. Oh, there you go, that very subservient body posture, tail between legs, rolling over. Oh, what incredible interaction. Bouncing away. You can hear them yelping. That poor pup is still getting it in the neck, so to speak. I'm trying to count them, but they keep bouncing over each other, making it very difficult. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm sure I count 11 pups. What do the viewers think? Can you do a count for me as well? Just double check and see from your screen grabs. You can send that through to #SafariLive on Twitter, of course, or email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And one of the wild dog adults has just defecated, sending quite the smell our way. What? Oh, I was talking a little bit about hunting and the fact that they will dash through the bushes and hunt like that. And I know that Sarah, who's watching in Ohio, you were wondering if wild dogs will they ever scavenge carcasses, or do they always eat their own kills? And the answer is they never scavenge. They're very specific about the food that they eat, and they only ever hunt for themselves. Really incredible animals. I'm sure I counted 11 pups there. We've got to try and reposition so we can count again. Maybe that little one did survive. There are a lot of messages going around from the various guides that it was an unusual pup and that it had a black tail. I can't really reposition at the moment until the pups have moved out of my way. Now, Wendy is notorious for going to black screen at the moment around Buffelshoek Dam, so if I reposition and I do lose you guys, never fear, because James will be on standby to help keep up with them. Now, I've got a question through, I'm sure as a result of the possibility that one of the pups has been killed. And Sean, you were wondering, because you know that they have lots of stamina, which is of course how they hunt, they chase down their prey. And Sean, you were wondering if they have the speed to outrun other predators. And yes, they do. They just have to make sure that they're not ambushed or caught by surprise, which I think often happens to them. One of them is just disappearing around the back, had a piece of leaf in his mouth. Very cute. Okay, we can reposition now. We might have to do a 20-point turn to do so. Try not to. Now, to me, wild dog always look slightly thin and very streamlined. But Lynn, you were wondering if these wild dog look full and full-bellied, like they've just eaten. And the answer is yes, they do to me. They look, at least, they definitely don't look hungry. Let's try and get a view of them without blocking anybody else's view. Stop here. Somewhat bravely approaching the water to come and have a drink. They've been very closely watched by the hippos that typically inhabit Buffelshoek Dam. Look at all of those ears. That's my favorite part of wild dog. It's just, especially with all these pups, just the number of ears that you see. I asked you guys earlier for a count of the pups, and as always our viewers come through very quickly, so Jeffrey, Joanne, Vanessa and many others, thank you. I also count 11. I'm going to try and count again. 1, let's have a look at some of the ones. Oh, they stopped there. They're going to play with each other over there with the stick in their mouth. They are just such fun. Look at them go. 1, 2. Oh, I can't keep track. 1, 2, 3. Oh, my word. Stop for a second. I need to count you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I lost count again. Okay, I'm going to go forward a little bit so we can get a better view. How amazing is this? Oh. There's, just to answer the question, we know we've been counting the pups, but Eddie, Abby, you were wondering how many adults there are. There's the standard 3 for this pack. They've currently moved ahead of the pups, but I'm going to stay with the pups for now. They're just moving up across the wall, and the pups are busy playing with sticks over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's definitely 11 puppies here. That is fantastic news. The best way, of course, to learn life skills is to practice them on your sibling. In this case, the brother nibbling on his sister. It just, the most entertaining creatures out here. They really are. Our dogs are always busy doing something. Oh, third one has entered the fray, being bowled over. It's like exuberant children. I barely know where to look. And these pups are growing so fast for 3.5-month-old youngsters, chasing each other out. Look at them go. And we're so lucky because now we get to see them regularly. Oh, got a stick there. Because they've left the den site and are now traveling with their parents. But Marisha, you were wondering if this means that the female, the alpha female, will now mate and breed again. And no, not just yet. It'll take her another couple of months before she does. They'll get these guys to the age where they can help look after the next set of pups. And are at least old enough and independent. But as you can see, they're not really past their childhoods or their puppyhoods. At the moment, everything is new and exciting, and maturity is not on their radar just yet. So Mom will wait a bit. And for new viewers, don't forget that this is live. So we're sitting here right now watching a pack of wild dog puppies play tug of war with a stick. That is mind-boggling. I was about to chat a little bit on the subject of Marisha's question about the alpha female now. The 3 adults in this pack will be 1 adult female, 1 alpha female, 1 alpha male, and 1 other male that I've seen. And typically in wild dog packs, only the alpha pair breed, and they're based very much on that. Every other pack member is subservient to that alpha pair. But Connie, you've read some literature that has raised the possibility, hunting each other. Get him, get him. All over the place. Sorry, Connie. I'll answer your question in a moment, but this is just incredible. Racing all over the place, right next to the car. You can imagine the treat that the tourists are experiencing as well. They must be blown away with excitement. Got him eventually. And of course these skills are so vital with survival. Connie, I haven't forgotten your question. I will be with you in a moment because it's an interesting one. And the mad dash continues. Oh, tired now. Now I want to lie down. I'll take this brief lull in activity to answer Connie's question. Now, Connie, you were saying that you've read articles that suggest that quite a high percentage of the puppies are not fathered by the alpha male as previously thought. Now, I'm going to have to do some reading and some research into this. It's an interesting point because, of course, animals not only want to have reproductive success, but they want to increase the genetic variation. They're geared towards producing the most genetically healthy offspring as possible. I wouldn't be surprised if the alpha female gets a sneaky mating session in every now and again, or a male manages to mate with the alpha female. That is a distinct possibility as long as the alpha male believes that they're his. One thing that you do find is very often that female is incredibly intolerant of any other female in the group having babies. Sometimes the beta female, so the second female in the hierarchy, will be able to have pups and allowed to keep them by the alpha female. But in answer to Connie's question, it's something I'm going to do a little bit more research on. Because I've always known that the alpha female, that's the typical example that we've always understood. Alpha pair breeds, just like wolves. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's a difference in that, and if there's more to it than we previously realized. Oh, wild dogs are just the best. Not too sure where the adults have gone. They appear to have moved away over the top of the bank, over the dam wall. And they've left the pups in this area to entertain themselves. All pups seem to have relaxed a little bit now. They're just very carefully watching the hippos. And what I'm going to do, now that they have settled down a little bit, is I'm just going to reposition so that we don't necessarily have the sun directly behind them. An interesting question, and it's one that is a temptation for all of us in a way. Well, I wouldn't say temptation, but it's an interesting point that has been raised by Mumsy, who's watching in Ohio as well. You were wondering if it would be possible to take a wild dog puppy and raise it in a way that it was completely relaxed around humans. So something similar to what Kevin Richardson has done in the past with lions and hyenas. And yes, to a point, I think it could probably habituate them. Bear in mind that our domestic dogs have been something that's been bred into the generations for years and years, for centuries, to get that domestic effect. And for these guys, one generation, one puppy, although you might get it used to you and it might play with you, it's actually hugely unfair on the animal because it doesn't get to live the wildlife and live in a group in the way that it should. Do I think that you could habituate them and live with them? Yes, I absolutely do. It's an interesting point, but I don't think it's fair, especially to a species like this that is so built for speed and companionship. That it is, their pack is everything to them. Hello, little one. Let's see what they're up to. I parked poor old Tebbs on a bit of a slope. Beg James to come into this area, so I will be letting him know as soon as he can approach the sighting as well. Oh, it's a such a peaceful scene. Now, I'm just thinking a little bit about the question that was asked by Mumsy as to whether or not you could domesticate them. And Mercedes, you were also wondering whether or not they would be, whether you could domesticate them or train them. And the answer is probably yes to a point. As I said, I think that they would always retain that level of wildness, in the same way that I believe Kevin Richardson admits that both the lions and the hyenas that he has raised and been with, there's always the strong possibility of them retaining, and of course they will, retaining those instincts that they are born with. They are fundamentally wild animals, and not something that could ever really be considered a pet. Domestic dogs and domestic cats have been bred in for generations, and they've become, in their evolutionary biology and their behavior, they've become reliant on human beings. They are bonded to us, and research has been done, especially with dogs. They're bonded to us in the same way that dogs 100 or thousands of years ago would have been bonded to their pack. But for wild dogs, this isn't the case at all. With one generation, you simply couldn't do it, and we don't need to. The process is complete with domestic dogs and domestic cats. We've got the companionship animals that we need. These animals are built to be wild and built to be part of a pack just like this. Now these pups, as they grow up, they're going to be closely bonded to each other. And if any of them do leave, because the pack has got a little bit big, then they will... the hippos are sniffing and snorting. As you can see, Buffelshoek Dam is looking a little bit low. It's putting pressure on the hippo in there. I think and just to continue our discussion, because Clown Sharon has taught me something that I didn't realize, which is that they have domesticated wild foxes in Russia, and it took about 10 generations of very selective breeding. Hippos are definitely a little bit unsettled, pushing each other around a bit, and that's really interesting information. Hammerkop's just going along for the ride on the back there. But it's just a question to me as to whether or not it's necessary to do so. To me, everything within my instinctive reaction to the idea of domesticating wild dogs is just absolutely not. I think it's because I have a level of respect for them in a way that I can't really explain. It's the same with elephants as well. I've never ever been tempted to go and touch an elephant or cuddle it, just because I almost view them in the same way I wouldn't go up to a stranger and give them a hug. It's that kind of individual human respect. And the pups have all looked up, I'm sure you've noticed. And although Tebbs can't show you right now, the adults have just headed back. Ears are up. I wonder what the adults are planning. Right, let's do this. Let's do a count, I think. It's Tebbs, if we can go from the furthest left puppy and just very slowly scan along them. Let's do a count again. And everybody, you can confirm that I'm not crazy. So there's 1, there is 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. Wait, yes, 10 and 11. I think I'm right. I think you're all right as well. There are 11 pups here. That is such fantastic news. That really does make me happy to hear. That's fantastic news. I'm glad that this pack is intact. Now, Gretchen, Lynn and Elaine and many others have said that they haven't noticed a black-tailed pup amongst this group. So maybe the messages that we received have been confused, and it wasn't a member of this pack, but maybe a member of another pack with pups that's moving around now as well. Perhaps that's where the confusion came from. And of course, when we're looking at them like this as they're barreling about and playing with each other, oh, those teeth must be so sharp. I bet that hurts. Sometimes it's quite difficult to recognize individuals unless you really look at their unique spot patterns. Oh, just imagine those needle-like puppy teeth. Pulling on each other. Wonderful thing about wild dogs is that you just simply don't know where to look when you see them. Whoop. I've still got the stick. I'm still going to play catch up with the stick. What these three haven't realized whilst they're playing is that the adults have actually moved across to the opposite side of the dam, and the rest of the pups have left as well. They've not gone far, we can still see them. Oh, I think they've just caught on. There they go. Oh, no, I still want to play with the stick. Oh. They really are incredible creatures. Now, can you hear them yelping and whining? I'm really relieved to hear that all pups are present and accounted for. And Susie, you suggested that maybe one of the 11 is a sub-adult who's been babysitting the pups. Now, as far as I know, I don't think so, Susie. Oh, let's have a look at them on top of that dam wall there. That's incredible to see. Wow. We're going to dash up and look down. As far as I know, it is 11 pups of the same age, and they all look roughly the same size. And then the 3 adults. I wonder what they're thinking. We've been watching these wild dog play, and they definitely are one of the brightest carnivores that we have out here, or predators that we have out here. And Penny, you were wondering if it's true that the intelligence of an animal is related to the amount that it plays. And I would say absolutely, in my opinion, and in my experience as well. Sitting in a wild dog sighting or at a hyena den with the cubs playing, you definitely get that incredible sense of intelligence. But all pups and all baby predators have to play. It's not just a sign of intelligence, it's also a sign of practice. They're practicing to be adults. It's honing their skills, which is why having a sibling, or in this case, having 10 siblings, is so incredibly useful. Because you can practice all of your hunting techniques. What a stunning view we have. All looking down into the dam. I'm trying to work out where the other adults have gone. I think they're thinking about hunting now that it's a little bit cooler. But I can't see them anymore. And that is typically what happens, is that once the pups have left the den, they'll move with the adults, but every now and again the adults will leave them resting in an area and go off and hunt. And the pups will stay a little bit behind them and wait for the adults to either call them or return to them. Okay. Let's just watch them along the dam wall for a bit. Quite a few vehicles between me and them, so we'll stick with them here for now. They might even come back in this direction. Wild dogs can be quite the unpredictable bunch. I mentioned that they will wait for contact calls from the adults. Now the pups are all looking down at the hippo. The hippo are still doing dances around each other, so that's what's attracted their attention. That's why they're looking so intently down towards the dam. And they are curious creatures. There you go, you can see what I mean. The hippo they are quite stressed out. They're in a small amount of space, and it's made them a little bit uncomfortable. What I would like to do is actually reposition to drive close to the dogs underneath the dam wall, but I think that's going to really upset the hippo. They're already a bit stressed in that small amount of water. I want to catch up with these guys. Oh, no, never mind, they might be coming back. I'll stay where I am then. Oh, sorry. Ah. Okay, no problem. Shame, man. Okay, I'm going to shift around. Poor old Ephraim's got a flat tire in his vehicle right in the middle of a wild dog sighting. Poor guy. Oh, that's so unfortunate, and I know that feeling so well. I'm just going to shift slightly so we can block Ephraim from the view of the wild dogs so that he can start thinking about doing something about his tire. I really know that feeling. We've got to help him out. There we go. I'm just going to put ourselves here. So that the wild dogs can't see what's happening on the other side of the vehicle as the tire is changed. Oh, I think they might be onto us. I'm going to move forward a bit more. I'm basically putting my front bumper onto Taxon's spare wheel so that we can block them from view as well as possible. You can see they're still playing, they're still happy. Oh, big yawn. Must be quite exhausting being so full of energy. As I said, the adults have disappeared off and the pups are left to their own somewhat mischievous devices. Oops, got you. But they will also make contact calls between them. And you've heard those little squeaks that they make, those submissive sounds as they're playing. And Mo too, you were wondering if they bark as well or whether they just make the little squeaky sounds. And they've actually got quite a wide range of different sounds. I wouldn't describe their loudest call as something like a bark. It doesn't really sound like a bark to me. They make a lot of begging, giggling noises, almost similar to spotted hyenas, or maybe when your dog whines. They also make an incredible sound, almost like an owl. They're so occupied with playing, they haven't even noticed what's going on behind us. There's definitely a vehicle tire being changed, and they still haven't quite worked it out, which is wonderful for us. It means that they're not in any way disturbed by what's happening around them. Oh. I can't reposition at the moment, so we'll settle with just having a look at those two up on the dam wall. Hopefully the pups will come back towards us. When wild dogs observe the comings and goings, I know that many of you have been chatting quite a lot about what we were talking about earlier, the issue of domestication. And Sharon has said that they domesticated those foxes in Russia as part of an experiment, almost like experimental biology or experimental evolution, as it were. And Susie, you mentioned that maybe it might be easier to domesticate foxes because they're solitary animals. They're not pack animals like these wild dogs. Now, I think you're probably right. It's probably easier to domesticate a solitary animal. It's a difficult one, though, because in my experience, solitary animals then want to be solitary, and once they hit their sort of puberty stage, when they reach sexual maturity, then it's time for them to be independent, and they might struggle with it in that kind of sense. Whereas pack animals could form a bond, and in a way, you could almost suggest that they could form a bond with their humans. Never fear, the tire is nearly off. The pups are not bothered though, you can see they're nice and relaxed. Chewing on a stick. I'm just going to shift my foot off while we watch this pup play with the branch, and I forgot to take my foot off the brake, so the car is going to jolt a bit. It's not Tebbs, it's me. Did you see that, the way that the branch sprang back? Oh, somebody's got a little bit of a limp. I have a question about, while we're watching these cubs play and learn, the natural extension of that, like we've seen with young leopards before in the past, is whether or not when the parents are away, does that mean that do the pups ever try and hunt small members of prey? Can we, oh dear, I was going to try and get the wild dog with the elephant dung. I will try and get that for you in a moment. That one has got a bit of a limp. Alright, I can't reposition at the, actually maybe I can, now that all of the pups have moved. I'm trying to block the tire changing process at the same time. Try and do this without causing any disruption. There we go. Locked them for the most part. We can have a look at the tug of war happening with some elephant dung. And the answer to, while we watch them play, as to whether or not they ever hunt or kill for themselves. They're a little bit young at the moment, but you probably find that if something like a duiker or a steenbok came running through while they were resting, and if they were a little bit older, then there is a chance that they would try to respond by hunting and practicing their skills. Not necessarily successful, but definitely something that instinct would kick in and they would try to hunt them. What an incredible sighting. I've never seen wild dog pups fight over a piece of elephant dung before. I've never ever seen this. It's just so much fun to watch. Now the adults have, as I said, disappeared off. And if they do make a kill, Sandy, you were wondering if they will bring the kill back to them or take the pups to the kill. And there's a combination that happens here, and I'm sure it's something that has been spoken about before. First of all, what they will do is they'll call the pups. They'll come and call them if they're close enough. But wild dogs typically wolf down their kill as fast as possible. And what they could do is they have a very interesting technique where they will consume as much as possible and then head back to the rest of the members of the pack, in this case the pups, and the pups will do something that is very clearly begging, where they lick the mouths of the parents and make that low whining sound, and in response the parents regurgitate the food. I can smell them now as the wind is wafting the scent towards us. A very distinct smell. It's a wet dog smell. It's a combination of wet dog and wet dog I've just rolled in mud smell. That's what it is. It's a very amazing wild dog scent. Oh, there is quite the race going on for that piece of elephant dung. Oops, dropped it. Trying to grab it up again. Now already they will be establishing some sense of hierarchy between the pups. Now of course as they grow up into this pack they won't be able to breed because their mother, unless she dies, will remain the alpha female and their father the alpha male. So unless they get lucky, they really won't get a chance to breed unless they decide to leave the pack, which is what's known as a dispersal pack. And interestingly enough, they won't leave on their own. So if this pack gets a little bit too big for their liking and they want some breeding opportunities, then the females will leave together with other females and the males will leave together with other females. And they'll go off in search of a member of the opposite sex. And once they do find them, especially for females, that's where the conflict begins, because then they've got to establish which one of them is going to be the alpha female in that new pack. And that's essentially how new wild dog packs are created. And that is probably one of the only times that wild dogs come into conflict with each other. Oh, they're chasing a kudu. They're chasing a kudu across the dam. I'm just going to wait here for the moment. We actually can't go rushing off in case we disturb them. I'm going to go see if they get it though. Right, they've moved across. I'm going to leave the pups for now. I'll be back in a moment. Let's see if we can catch up with the adults. Cheers, Ephraim. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Let's see if we can catch up with him. I'm going to try and get hold of James so that he can come and take my spot with the pups. We can catch up with the adults and see what's happening with that kudu. It was a full-grown female kudu for 3 wild dogs. I'll be amazed if they manage that. Adults are hunting a kudu. I'm going to follow up with the adults if you want to head across to the pups. Have a look in here. Taxon's just ahead of me. I can already hear. That happens so quickly. I think the guys have spotted them. They might have done a circle. There we go, there's one of the adults. They must have missed that hunt. Otherwise, we definitely would have seen that adult rushing off. Let's see if we can get a nice contact call towards. I think the adults have missed it. So sorry. I know that my signal is disappearing every now and again. One of the adults has returned to the pups. I think they missed the kill that they were trying to get. So we're going to go back towards the pups. I did see James to come and respond to us. Let's see what Taxon has to say. He's just been checking around there. Pups running all over the place. I'll be with you in a moment. Don't worry, I don't think we've missed the kill. Tax, any sign of them? Yeah, I saw the one coming back now. Okay, we've got to go back through the dip. We might lose you again. But bear with us. We'll be back with you very, very quickly. Make our way back towards the pups. I don't think that hunt was successful. I think that they missed out. The adults now in front of us. Here we go, here's one of the adults. Running back again. Maybe he heard something and we didn't. Dashing up the top of the wall. Stopped there. I wonder what he's hearing. The rest of the pups are still around. They're going to come back towards the dam, so I'm not going to follow after them. They're going to come back towards us. James is standing by in case the adults then disappear off, then at least we have two of us in different directions. The pups are still around. They will come back to us shortly. That adult is looking intently over the dam wall. I'm not sure what he's heard. I don't think that kill was successful. For two wild dogs to take down an adult kudu cow would have been incredibly impressive indeed. Relaxed again, looking back across the dam. Now that kudu did indeed run like the wind, Donna, and dashed off somewhere, and of course as fast as wild dog are, they still put up faced with a serious challenge with things like kudu because they are incredibly fast and they move through thick vegetation. But naturally the wild dog advantage comes from that incredible stamina that they do have. And Carla, yes, I think the puppies have worked up a serious appetite with all their playing that they've been doing. I can still see them. I'm just waiting to see if they're going to come across to us. Now, Dale, who's watching in Rhode Island, if those adults had herded that kudu towards the dam and towards the pups, you were wondering if they would take part in any kind of the kill, any part of the kill, or whether they're still too young. And I'm actually not sure. I think probably they are still a little bit too young, but even then they'd be right on the cusp of that age. They might try as instinct starts to kick in, but I don't think it would be too serious an effort. I was waiting for those pups, speaking of them, to come back to me, but I actually don't think that they're going to. They're trotting around back in the vegetation where we first found them. I think what I'm going to do is, never mind. I was about to say I'm going to reposition. I'm going to reposition, but I'm not going to go all the way up so that we can keep both the adult and the pups in view. Try and catch up with them here. They're just up in here. Keep seeing flashes of wild dog puppy and flashes of white at the top of their tail as they move through. Let's see if I can get us a nice position to view them from. Have to wait one moment in this sighting, but I've mentioned the flashes of white that I could see. Watch your head there, Tebbs. And the pups are being very inconvenient. You'll have to wait for a moment. They will come back to us. They've just dashed off into the block, which is terribly inconvenient. They will be back in a moment. They've just found something that we can't really share with you at the moment. Unfortunately, I think we must return to our adult wild dog. As I watch the flashes of white disappearing into the bushes. We have a question from Sean about that flash of white, who's watching from Secunda. We were wondering if there is a reason behind that flash of white, or that white tip of the tail. And the answer is, I think it's part of the way that they pack hunt. It's a way of them following each other. I'm going to just let Taxon go ahead so he can view the sighting of the pups. Just going to let him go through. Bear with me for one moment. Nkombi, I have to go that way. Enjoy. We'll wait for them to come back. Oh no. Confirm on black screen. Oh, good. Okay, well, we're still with you, thank goodness. I was a little bit worried there. But for now, whilst I reposition, if we could head across to James, see what he's been up to. I promise I will get you back with those wild dogs as soon as I can. We'll be back with you very, very shortly. Cheers for now.
Hello everybody, really exciting what's going on here. Unfortunately, I'm obviously completely blind. I'm just behind the dam, waiting to see what happens, waiting to see if Wendy's signal holds. So we're just going to stand by here. We obviously don't want to pressure the sighting. There are 3 vehicles there already, and we don't want to go in there and create untoward pressure, especially when there are the little puppies there. But what a marvellous way to spend an afternoon with those dogs and the little ones. So what I think will happen probably now, I can hear a lot of movement, but I'm not informed as to exactly what's happening. The adults are probably going to start hunting. Whether or not they will leave the babies there or take them with them, I'm not sure, but time will tell, I suppose. Jamie is definitely going to follow up as fast as she can. At the moment, though, we're going to sit right here. I'm afraid we can't really move. We're a bit close to the sighting and would create a bit of an impact if we go anywhere from here. Something interesting to show you, a rubbing post, for example. Fascinating rubbing post this. Don't worry, Jamie is following the dogs, and that is a rubbing post where an elephant has come and rubbed itself free of mud after being in the mud. I know this is a ridiculous thing to be showing you now, but we obviously can't be with Jamie right now. I don't think she's got any signal. Maybe we'll take a slow drive down the road. Oh, look, there's a woolly neck stalk, Jeandre. Quickly get it while we're sitting here. We'll quickly get some information from the final control as to what's going on so I can update you. Oh, look, they're all coming over. They're all coming over. You're talking to me now. Please give instruction as to where the dogs are. I can't see them. We're getting a few slightly strange messages from the final control. It's very difficult to predict what's going to go on with a wild dog hunt like this, so I'm afraid please be patient with us. I'm going to sneak slowly towards the dam. I'm not actually hearing anything from them at the moment. We will go back to them as soon as possible, I promise. Just quickly going to contact them, and I need to know what's going on because I can't, I don't know if I can go to the dam or not. Jamie, do you copy, Jamie? There are some hippopotami. There's Jamie. Jamie? Sorry, I will tell you what's going on now. Sorry, go again with that. FC was talking. Confirm that they are moving, the adults. Sorry everybody, I will get back to you now. Don't have any view of the dogs there. We're going to head on up towards the cut line and try and cut them off. We'll see what's going on now. Jamie can't get through from where she is towards the cut line. The cut line is just up here, and with any luck we'll pop out with a whole lot of little wild dogs. Going to try and get hold of Tax, and he's also with them. Tax, you copy Tax? Tax, have you still got visual there? Okay, copy that, thanks. Confirm the other WildEarth station is in that site. The dogs are just the northern side of the dam. They're not far from where Jamie is, but I don't think Jamie's able to move. So Jamie can't move at the moment. She's got a couple of issues. None of them are personal. Of course, a couple of technical glitches, bush glitches. We're going to come in from this side, and we can go in now. Apparently, one of the other vehicles is leaving, so we can actually both be in the sighting, which is rather exciting. Right. We'll sneak in here. They're not moving now. Jeandre, tell me if you see any little doggy-like things painted. White, black, brown, beautiful red colours. Ah, there they are. Okay, moving in there. Copy that, thank you. I don't want to make it a full vehicle sighting. Also, confirm I can come in there. It's all rather confusing at the moment. Right, copy that. I'm going to stand by here. They're just through there, and Jamie can't move at the moment, so I actually can't go in there. But if they do move at all, then we will be able to go in. So I'm sorry, it's a little bit frustrating, but it's just the way it is out here, I'm afraid. I'm probably going to reverse a little bit. I don't want to disturb what's happening here. Oh, what's your head? Jeandre? Is it right? Oh, dear. Jeandre just lost his head. I think it looks to me like one of the other vehicles is leaving. I'm going to stand by here. Sorry, stations, I'm very confused as to how many vehicles are in that dog sighting. I definitely don't need to go in, but I do need an accurate vehicle update. Okay, we can go in, everybody. Here we go. Okay, copy, thank you. Into the sighting, and there the dogs are there. You can just see them through the bushes. There they're running. Jeandre, have you got the other animal there? There they all are. Look at them all. Look at all the puppies. Oh, this is just too special for words. They're begging. All the adults are there now. I wonder if those other two didn't manage to catch something. The puppies are all begging from them. This is so special, everyone. run up through there. We will try and get around there with him. Hello everyone. How very exciting. Here's Fatika. I was born. So Alright, Jamie's just in front of us there. We're going to go around a little bit this way and see if we can't get in around this side. There we go. There we go. There they are. Heading off in a northerly direction, so I think no, they're not. They're kind of static there. So I think we'll head gingerly through that here. Look like they're going to go on the hunt now. Jamie's just over there. We can't move at the moment. We can't move because there are rhino around the area, and obviously we can't show them, and that's why it looks a little bit awkward at the moment. So that's what's going on. You all know the reasons. We're going to go across to Jamie quickly. She seems to be clear, and we'll put her onto the dogs.
And I are battling it out for the best position to see these wild dogs. I'm a little bit ahead of him in the block, and I'm going to try loop round so we can see them. They are on the move, and there's a good chance that they are going to cross the boundary or reach the boundary fairly soon. There they are. They're off to the right of me. Oh wow, what a beautiful clearing. I've never been here before. Let me just get you around. Coming up to the fire break now, so that means they are close to the boundary. I'm going to try and get ahead of them. They get across in front of me, so I'm going to tuck my head. Whoop. Here they all are, coming across the road. The answer to the question as to whether or not they will chase something, and the answer is yes. That was what I was chatting about beforehand. And they're definitely at the point that they have that instinct within them. Off they go, racing across. We're going to lose them very, very soon. We're going to go across Buffelshoek boundary. Let's try and stay with them for one last look. These two playing, I think, for the moment. Well, these three, sorry. They're right on Buffelshoek boundary. The Madasha are playing on the cut line now. I think they're going to continue north. Okay. Not sure if you can hear the high-pitched whining yelps that are coming from the various pups. Having quite the game. I'm going to move forward into the open now. We're about to lose them. But what an amazing sighting we've had. I don't know where to stop. They're all over the place. Dashing around like mad creatures. Here they go. Another chance to reposition. Judith is absolutely right. The way that they play is just like domestic dogs. It is a pity we don't have a ball to throw for them. I wonder what they would do. I think their reaction would be quite incredible to see. That last pup is going to disappear, and then I'm afraid yep, there we go. And that is it for our wild dog sighting. But what an incredible time that was. I'm just going to let the other guides know that the dogs have disappeared across the boundary, because if anyone wants to follow up and they can traverse Buffalo's Hook, they need to come quickly. Okay, well, wasn't that an incredible way to spend an afternoon? I just want to get hold of the guys. Our stations, the Madach are now mobile north into Buffalo's Hook, almost directly northeast of the dam. Wow, what an absolutely phenomenal sighting. I really, really enjoyed every moment of that, and so full of play. Daisy, I think you agree with me. There is nothing better than a wild dog sighting like that when everybody's involved, the pups are all over the place, they're playing with each other, they're chewing on each other's ear. It's just absolutely phenomenal to witness. Really, definitely the best way. I can't believe how fast the afternoon has gone. It's just been so much fun. There's endless entertainment with wild dogs. They're always doing something different, something unique. Interesting question that has come in from Geert, who's watching in the Netherlands. Now, Geert, do you want to know if a pack's home range or their territory is dependent on the size of the pack, or will the size of the territory be dependent on the size of the pack? Because the Orphan pack, which is 30 animals strong, has a territory of almost 900 kilometers squared. Now, as far as I know, and I think I'm right about this, but there's a possibility I might not be, I think I'm right, the territory size is not all that dependent on the members of the pack. It's dependent on food distribution and lion distribution. Because if, say, for example, food is scarce, then you need a bigger area to get it, especially given the way that wild dogs hunt and the speed that they travel at. And if your lion density is very high in an area, then you need a big area, which is exactly the case around Orphan and around the Orphan area where the pack is, and Satara. It's the highest lion density in Africa. Then you have to have a big area so that you can avoid them. You can spend as much time as you need to trying to get away from them, or as much space as you need to trying to get away from them. So I think it's less to do with pack size and more to do with availability and lion impact and other competition impact rather than size. Still an interesting point to raise. I'm not sure how big the territory of this pack is. I honestly am not sure. Obviously, since we started seeing them, it's only been recently since the pups left the den. I'm not sure what kind of area they're covering. I know they move all the way from Buffalo's Hook, which is across to us on our left, all the way down to Chitwa and Cheetah Plains on our right, and into Torchwood, and then into Djuma, which is where we've just seen them now. Although they seem to be absolutely loving the Buffalo's Hook Dam at the moment. I'm really chilly, so please excuse me one moment while I put on my somewhat noisy jacket. It's very cozy and I'm cold. down a year. Much better. It's been probably my best afternoon spent since I got back to work last week. Really was incredibly good fun. Lynn, you remarked on how big that pack size is, or how big the puppy litter size is. And apparently, because I also thought it was enormous when I first saw them, and I started doing some reading into it, and the average is anywhere from around 13 to 20 puppies. So although these adults have done really, really well, it's not out of the ordinary to see such enormous litters of puppies. But an incredible sighting, great to see that all 11 are there. I was worried, but I'm happy that they're all safe and well with their parents. It has definitely been an afternoon that I've enjoyed sharing with all of you. Let's see what James has been up to with his time. Shame, he was standing by on the outskirts of that sighting, which I do feel bad for. But let's head across to him now. I'll be back with you a little bit later.
Hello everybody. What a spectacular afternoon you've had, or we've had. I'm just chewing a piece of grass in order to reabsorb the calmness of the wilderness around here at the moment. Just to reiterate, we obviously have a policy of not showing rhino as far as we can avoid it. Sometimes, obviously, like you've seen, that's a bit difficult. And we don't do that, of course, because of the scourge of poaching, and we don't want, for any reason whatsoever, us to be associated with perhaps showing where rhino are. Sometimes, like I say, it is obviously unavoidable, like you've seen, and I don't particularly believe it's going to make a big difference, but it is important, and it's obviously a major issue around here. And a wild dog pack, Sharon in Memphis, a wild dog pack would never take on a rhino. They will play though. You've seen your domestic dogs possibly chasing cars before. There's no way they actually think that they're going to eat the car. And I think it's in very much the same way. So those puppies will see that big animal, and rhino tend to, because they can't see so well, they get a fright and they run. And they run in any direction, as opposed to an elephant, which will just turn around and, they'll stand at the ground, trumpet, make a big noise, and stomp up towards the dogs. And a rhino will just kind of run. And that, as you all know, if you run away from a dog that's chasing you, it'll think it's a game and will chase around. And so that's why those dogs are getting so excited around the rhino there. Anyway, a difficult situation. But we've got through it, everyone. Well done. And Elaine in Michigan, lots of wild dog questions obviously coming through, because they are quite possibly the most fascinating animals that we get out here. And Elaine, you want to know, is it possible, or what kind of interaction do they have with human beings, and do they cause any trouble for human beings? As far as I know, I don't know of any records of human beings being attacked by wild dogs. I've seen them many times on foot. It is the most special experience, because they run away a little bit and then they turn and they watch. And to spend a little bit of time with a pack of wild dogs on foot like that while they're looking at you is just, it's magic. It's complete magic. And so they don't, as far as I know, I don't think there are any records of human beings falling prey to the dogs. Certainly if you're a child, maybe in the communities it's possible, but the dogs hardly ever go out of the fences, and when they do, then there is conflict. There's conflict because they come into contact with domestic dogs, and they are susceptible to domestic dog diseases. They can't interbreed, but they can get rabies, they can get canine distemper, and they can get various other things that dogs get, and that does cause a problem for the dogs. But I haven't heard of a lot of incidents of late. It certainly used to happen, I think, a lot more when the fences weren't as well patrolled as they are now. Spectacular sighting, that. And while we're driving along, I just spotted this bit of a beautiful grass. And I love the way that it shone in the golden light of the setting sun. And it's just a piece of, I think it's called Millinus nervi glumus, if I'm not mistaken. And the tail red top. It's not very red at the moment. And it's a very bad grazing grass. And Jeandre, I'm going to give that to you to chew. You can have a taste, everybody. It tastes a little bit sort of like a bad mushroom, if you like. It doesn't have that nutritious taste that, say, some of these really good grazing grasses do. You know what I mean? Mushroomy.
Quite like it.
It's quite nice. Now, obviously you have seen them having a hunt, and you've seen them, they failed to catch kudu, and then when those two adults came back, the youngsters were begging, making that twittering sound, which of course is a begging sound that they make. And Monique, in London, you want to know how often do they need to hunt to feed all those hungry mouths? I'm interested, just before you can answer this question while I'm answering mine, were there 11 pups there or just 10? And I'll tell you why I'm asking that now. Monique, they will often hunt twice a day, those adults, once in the morning, once in the evening, and that's because of all those mouths that they have to feed. And I'm astonished, that pack started off as 4, it's gone down to 3, and as far as I know, they've lost 2 or 3 pups from the litter only, and they've managed to feed them up to almost 4 months old. And I think that is a quite astonishing achievement for those 3 adults. It really is amazing. So I'm hoping that pack will augment its size quite substantially over the course of the next year. Those little pups can get to sort of 6 or 7 months old. I think they'll be a long way to surviving into proper adulthood. But bear in mind, dogs often only last for 5 years. Apparently 80% of the wild dogs in the Kruger National Park are less than 5 years old. So that means that they don't live for a very long time. Potentially, probably longer in captivity, but still not very long at all. Connie in Michigan, thank you very much. Apparently your 2-year-old grandson is glued to his computer because James is in his Jeep. Hello, young fella. Better than cartoons. I'm not. Is that a compliment, Jeandre? To be like a cartoon? Probably is. And then a request for the sunset, and we'll just pop over the hill here, and we do have quite a nice piece of sunset here for you to look at. Hope there are not too many trees in the way. It's so crisp, the air is so beautifully crisp after that cold front. I think it's passed over, it might still be with us, but the mountains, that you can see, it feels like you can touch them. They're so beautifully clear in front of us there. We'll find you a spot here and I'll show you what I mean. Driving along, trying to just get a little spot through the trees where I can show you the glory of the mountains there. Oh, that is just magnificent. So I'm going to have to drive a little bit further on. James, in Kansas, you want to know, do we give them shots for rabies and distemper? We can't, James. There are too many of them around the Kruger Park. They're too difficult to get hold of, and I just don't think there are the resources, and I'm not sure that distemper shots actually function, to be honest. But no, they aren't given shots in the Kruger Park. It's just trying to mitigate the effects of them meeting up with domestic dogs. Here we'll get a shot here of the mountains. There we are. That is just spectacular. Look at that, everyone. Wow. Look at that, everybody. Isn't that glorious? So beautiful. And the lights The lights that you can see twinkling there are the lights of Hoedspruit and Acornhoek, which are just nestled, well, Acornhoek isn't, but Hoedspruit is nestled in the mountains there. Just beautiful. Look at that. Time to just take a deep breath in and relax after that astonishing wild dog sighting which you had, and we got the tail end of. You get that, Jeandre? Now, while we're looking at this glorious sunset, Kevin, a nice question. You want to know, do we have mythical creatures here that people sometimes say they see, like the Yeti, the Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster? Kevin, we do have one, and that is the Utogoloshi. Now, Utogoloshi is a small man, even smaller than I, supposed to be about 4 feet tall. His one astonishing feature is a meter-long penis. And Utogoloshi is supposed to be the terror of various parts of the country. And many, of course, we've got about, in very broad strokes, 11 different cultural groupings in the country. And all of the indigenous African cultures have a version of this Togoloshi. There are also, I think in Zulu, there's a water snake. That tends to be a little bit more mythical. The Togoloshi, you still hear about people saying that they saw, their uncle saw. It's normally an uncle. Uncles seem to be extremely good at spotting these mythical creatures. But Utogoloshi is supposed to ravage ladies in the night and also carry off children in the night and also probably create madness. And he's definitely a kind of evil spirit. That's Utogoloshi. Right. Let us just drive slowly forward. Marvelous sight of the setting sun. Let me retrieve my spotlight. Whoops. Amongst all the paraphernalia that we bring on Game Drive, it's in here somewhere. There we go. Now, a little question from a little girl called Madeline in Mrs. Puttoff's class in Missouri. You want to know when safari started. Madeline, it's a difficult question to answer. I'm sure that you want a fairly simple answer, or maybe you don't, but it's difficult to answer because safari, of course, as a word, has many different connotations and meanings. Now, safari means journey in Swahili, which is the language of East Africa. Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, little bits of the Congo. They speak Swahili there, and it's a very interesting language. It takes many influences from all around the place. There's some Arabic, there's some what they call Bantu languages, which is what Zulu and Shangaan are derived from. So lots of different languages there, and safari means journey. But what it's come to mean is like a wildlife experience. And initially, Madeline, that would have happened in the early around about 1800 and probably a little bit before, when people started to go into wildlife areas and they would go and view wildlife. Often they were hunting safaris, which I think is a bit sad, and we lost a lot of elephants in this area from people who were hunting them. But now, a safari, and this kind of safari that we do, and you obviously saw those guests on Taxon's vehicle while you were in that wild dog sighting, that sort of safari in this area started in, probably 1970 or so, or maybe even earlier, maybe say 1960. I think it started in East Africa a little bit earlier than that. But certainly people have been coming to the Kruger Park, Madeline, in their own cars since about 1926, which is a very long time ago. It's almost 100 years. So that's basically when that started. WildEarth started about 17 years ago. Didn't look anything like this, but that's when it started. and another lovely question from Miss Cutoff's class. Hello, Liam. You want to know what we as guides do for fun. Well, we work for fun, actually. A lot of people have to take time off from their work because it's very dreary and hard, and you sit in an office all day and go to meetings. Our work is really a lot of fun. So what we do, so Scott and I and Steph, yesterday we had the afternoon off, and we went for a walk in the bush, and we discovered new things. We found an interesting moth or two. We found some new trees. We looked at birds' nests, and we just discovered and learned from each other. And that's what we like to do when we're having fun out here. Otherwise, we do some exercise and that sort of thing. And above it, while we're talking about this work that we do, and I use the term work advisedly, you want to know what kind of qualifications you need to do this job. Bavit, also a slightly difficult one to answer because, sorry, I'm just looking at a bird there. Ooh, it is, It's called a bronze-winged courser. And that's quite unusual. It looks like a fairly standard issue lapwing, crowned lapwing. It isn't. It's a bronze-winged courser. They're nocturnal birds, and to course, as we learnt today, is to run after something. So to course after it, like a greyhound would, or a cheetah or a wild dog. They are coursers, and that bird is called a courser because it chases its prey on the ground and then picks it up. Bavit, you need to do what I'm doing now, exactly what I'm doing. You don't actually need a qualification. You sort of need a driver's license, but you do need some experience, and experience is the crucial thing if you are going to spend time in wildlife areas. So you don't need a specific qualification. If you're going to guide people in South Africa, then you do need a guide's qualification, and there are various kinds that you can do here. They're not particularly intellectually challenging to get in, so if you want to get in and start at the basic level, it's not very difficult. But I would say to become a proper guide, once you've got the qualifications, which you can do probably in 3 months or so, it takes about a year, I think, of full-time guiding to really learn how to do the job. And you get, if it's something that you love doing, you'll get better and better and better at it all the time. So that's basically what you require. I think that a degree in biology is useful, but you certainly don't need one to become a guide. But you do need an overwhelming sense of interest and fascination with the bush, and that's basically the main thing that you need. If you're going to guide people on foot, you do need to have an ability to use a rifle. But we don't need that here because we're not guiding people on foot, and we're certainly not driving around with weapons, and that's just not necessary. So, Bavit, it just depends on where you want to be a guide. You were watching those mountains, obviously, earlier. Beautiful mountains. And are there caves, you say? There are some caves in this particular part of the mountains. Not that many. Jeandre, you're a bit of a caving mountain man. Do you know of any particular cave attractions in this area? There is one. Where? On the escarpment. So there are a few. It's not hugely known for their caves. Certainly on the Highveld there's some very interesting caves, and down in the Cape where Jeandre is from, or not from, where he lives, there are lots of interesting caves around to explore. So various around the country, not too many in the mountains just near where we are here. Ooh. Something in that little tree hole there, Jeandre. You see the knot of that tree. I wonder if it isn't a bush baby's nest. I don't think we're going to see anything there. We'll just stop here briefly, see if anything pops its head out. I just saw some eyes shining there. There. Do you see the movement? Oh, I'll just make a sort of birdish alarm call. Psst, 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 psst. There. There it is, a bush baby. Look at the little bush baby. There it is. It looks like a little gremlin. Mowgli. Remember Mowgli from Gremlins? Oh, that's... Oh, look. That's too sweet for words. Look at him looking out at us. Oh. So everybody, that is a lesser bush baby. Little lesser bush baby. And that's where they live. Obviously. There'll be a few of them in there, and they would have just woken up because they come out at night to eat. Lots of bugs around at the moment, so that's what they're eating. Oh, that's too sweet for words. Can you believe that? Oh, there's another one behind. This is just too special. Everybody, I've actually never seen this in 10 years of knocking about in the bush here. I've never seen this. Look at the other one behind there. And they're very slow to wake up, bush babies. They go into a torpor during the middle of the day, which means that their metabolism slow right down. They conserve energy, and it means that they take a long time to wake up. Oh, look. That's why they're moving so slowly now. So if you imagine yourself after a kind of those afternoon naps where you wake up and you feel like you've been run over by a bus, that's basically how these chaps feel every time they wake up. Look at them. That is just too sweet for words. And one behind didn't like being laughed at. So sweet. See the eyes there? Huge eyes in the head. Those eyes can't move. They're not like our eyes, which can turn from side to side. The eyes don't move in the socket. So if they want to look from side to side, they have to turn their heads. Come on, come out. That's it. There we go. There we go. Come on. Bugs are waiting for you. And they are tiny, and they're called bush babies, of course. And Kirsty, you want to know if these are little baby bush babies? No, they're not. These are adults. These are just how big they get. Tiny little. So, I mean, they are small, and I'm just trying to give you an idea of. You probably can't see their size of a sort of a big hamster, I suppose. A bit bigger than that. Jeandre, what can we liken them to?
A hamster that ate a hamster.
A hamster that ate a hamster. Thank you very much for that. Oh, there we go. I'm going to pop out now. This is the best bush baby sighting I've ever had. We've had the best monitor lizard sighting and best bush baby I've ever had. Toss in some wild dogs for good measure, and it's been a magnificent afternoon. Look at that. Oh, sweet. There we go. I wonder if it might be a sub-adult. Might be a sub-adult one. It's got a, does have a babyish look about it, but that's about full size. I actually think that is a slightly little one. Look at them. And I don't know if you've never seen them before, which some of you won't have, I suspect. Their greatest form of locomotion, or the way they move, is to hop. and they hop huge distances. And those of you who were children of the 80s, or perhaps the early 90s, will know about the gummy bears. And the gummy bears used to bounce around the place. If you've ever seen a cartoon of the gummy bears, this is exactly what these things do. They jump around exactly like little gummy bears. If you haven't seen the gummy bears, do yourself a favour and go and find some on YouTube. It's hilarious. I don't think these chaps are going to come out while we're looking at them, though, to be honest. So sweet. Alright, I think we're going to leave them, and I'll tell you why. I think we are probably stopping them from coming out. They're probably a little bit nervous. So let's leave them. Oh, look at that. Oh, so I'm not really sure what the social arrangement is there. I mean, they do live in little families of the females and the youngsters, and I think males actually live with the family, and probably closely related ones, brothers as well. And Ashley, you want to know, could that be a mother and a youngster? It's possible. They're quite closely sized, though, so it's definitely not a dependent youngster if it is. Marvellous, marvellous. Now, those bush babies, like I mentioned, will be on the hunt for insects of any kind, really. Rich in fat are insects. And Ashley, in the UK, you say you can hear a lot of insects. And what are they, or what are some of them? The ones that you can hear are largely different species of cicada. They make a huge noise around here at this time of the year. And then you can probably also hear the odd grasshopper stridulating, you know, when they rub their back legs. What do you got? On the dashboard. What do we got there? Jeandre has spotted something. Oh, that's a wolf spider. Lost him, I'm afraid. Well, Jeandre's sharp. He's a sharp man, old Jeandre. Wolf spider, it's gone, I'm afraid. Actually, they don't make a noise. So grasshoppers, largely, some cicadas, and what else? What other insects make a noise? Sometimes some of the beetles make some clicking noises, but I don't think you'll be hearing those. So it's largely the crickets, grasshoppers, katydids, and the cicadas that make a big noise. All, of course, in an attempt to catch a mate. Attacked by a beetle. Off you go, beetle. Lovely, warm, balmy evening. I think that front has definitely left us. It's nice and warm now. We'll just do a quick stop here to show you the mountains there. We'll just have a quick look there. You can see some of the communities there. You can just see the lights off twinkling in the lee of the mountains. Those mountains are actually quite a long way from those twinkling lights there. And Tina, while we're looking at those very attractive twinkling lights, you want to know if you need an education to do what we do. It helps, certainly, but there are some very good guides who have got no formal education at all. So while I think it's easier, certainly, if you have a formal education, simply because a formal education often teaches you to think, which I think is very helpful, it's certainly not a requirement. I know many very good guides who actually haven't finished school, mainly because of our troubled apartheid past, but they're brilliant guides, so you don't actually have to have a proper formal education. Isn't that pretty? It's really rather gorgeous. Ah, no, that's a much better, actually, comparison. Dr. Debbie, you want to know if bush babies are bigger or smaller than a squirrel. Dr. Debbie, that's a much better size. They're almost exactly the same size as a squirrel, like a fat squirrel. That's a very good way of putting it. So just the same size of tree squirrel, which I'm sure many of you will know the look of. Gorgeous, Jeandre. Well done. Let us move along. Now we get to look at that beautiful sunset every day, of course. Well, unless there's an enormous rainstorm coming in. Too many stars out yet. Maybe there's a little bit of cloud overhead. Certainly not much towards the mountains there. Now don't forget, on Saturday the 7th, if you're going to watch, if you're a fan of the dawn drives, we will be moving half an hour earlier. That'll be 5 o'clock our time in the morning. The afternoon drives will stay exactly the same, from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock Central African time. And so we'll go to 5 o'clock, which I think is 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the States. And you can work out the rest from there. And sorry, that rather startled look behind me was the fact that there's a vehicle there. Oh, there's a chameleon. Let's have a quick this chap person's going to have to wait for us. There's the chameleon. Can you see it, Jeandre? Can you see it there? Vaguely? There we go. That's it. There is a beautiful chameleon. Unfortunately, there is a vehicle behind us, I'm afraid. But we will move. Okay, so that's a flap-necked chameleon, everybody. A very gorgeous little reptile that we find here, and you'll see him changing colour now. Alright, I think that's enough probably from me today. Let's carry on. Right. Thank you, Gilly, for offering to get the person that stopped us just behind us, probably somebody going to work. Thank you very much for your questions and comments today. It's been the most glorious afternoon, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you, Jeandre, on camera. And of course, we'll hand you back to Jamie and her erstwhile companion, Tebbs, and they will say goodbye after their incredible wild dog sighting. Thanks to Jerry and Tara in the final control, and we will see you tomorrow, 5:30 in the morning. Stay safe and happy wherever you are, and we'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye.
What an amazing afternoon we've had spent with those wild dog puppies. And I know that so many of you have lots and lots of questions that you wanted to chat about. But just to go over a couple of things quickly. Barbara, I know that you were wondering if those all 11 pups, if they will stay with the pack once they reach adulthood, or how will that work? And they will. For a couple of years within their lives, they will stay with their pack. That being said, if they want an opportunity to breed, of course, their mother is the alpha female. So, as I mentioned earlier, they won't be able to unless something happens to her, if she dies for some reason. So what happens is they form dispersal packs, and it will be only females going off together or only males. Not necessarily all of them. A lot of them will stay with the pack for the rest of their lives, but some of them will disperse and look for members of the opposite sex that they can start their own new pack with. And that just depends on the wild dogs themselves and the area that they're in. As we mentioned, that orphan pack is absolutely enormous. So sometimes they do decide to stay with the families for the rest of their lives. And the reason behind that is it's a hard time out there for you as a wild dog. Happy Cub, you were wondering because James mentioned that most wild dogs don't live past the age of 5, at least in the Kruger area. And generally what will get them will be things like lions. As I said, they can so often run helter-skelter into a lion pride accidentally and get caught and killed. But what they will do, what also is responsible for their destruction or for that low life expectancy, is also things like diseases. So canine distemper, they're quite susceptible to. I mentioned I was so relieved because when we went into that wild dog sighting, we'd heard reports that one pup had died, and I was really, really happy to see all 11 of them back once again. And Lynn and Debbie, you were both wondering what it was that might have taken out a wild dog puppy like that. And it can be a couple of things. Most often, I would say, is something like a lion or a leopard or even hyena. Although wild dogs and hyenas sort of compete for a spot within that predator hierarchy out here. If there's a lot of wild dogs, they can fend off hyena. But if they got caught out, it's a possibility, as with all predators, that the pup would be killed by them. What could also have happened, you saw how curious those wild dog pups were. They wanted to play with everything. And I would be interested to know what the mortality rate is in terms of snake bites. I know most of the animals out here have a natural fear of snakes. There's an instinctive fear there. But it could be a factor. And then something like an injury, you know, a broken leg or a broken ankle, you've seen how they pelt through the bush, the way that they run around. That one had a very tiny limp, nothing too serious. But obviously injuries out here do happen. And that could result in the pup really struggling to keep up with the rest of the group, eventually losing condition, and then possibly reaching the end of its short life in that manner. It is a hard life for wild dogs out here, but it's one of the most wonderful things about seeing them is that wild dog numbers within South Africa had reached an all-time low over the past few decades, and we're talking maybe numbers of 350, 400 at their lowest, maybe even smaller. And it's a population that is slowly, bit by bit, increasing. And that is, to me, one of the most special things about having a sighting just like that. Now, we are coming up to the end of our sunset safari. It has been amazing. But please remember that on Saturday, we will be shifting forward an hour, half an hour in the morning. So we will be starting at 5 a.m. Central African time. And just quickly before I sign off, a big happy birthday from all of us. That's to Mr. Scott Dyson. It is his birthday today, and I hope that he has had a wonderful afternoon. And of course, as always, a big thanks to Tebbs. It's our first time working together, my first experience tracking from start to finish and finding wild dogs. And thank you to all the viewers for your wonderful, wonderful questions coming through. And as always, to our wonderful girls in FC, Jerry and Tara. And have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. And we will catch up with you on the Sunrise Safari. Have a great day.